Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive? Today we're going to be exploring how the human body coordinates all of its complex functions.
It really is a fascinating system, isn't it?
It's like thinking about an orchestra with trillions of instruments all needing to play in sync.
Exactly. And the question is, what's the conductor?
Right. How does our body manage to keep everything running smoothly?
Well, that's where the fascinating world of chemical messengers comes in.
Ah, yes, chemical messengers.
You see, there are all these different types: neurotransmitters, endocrine hormones, neuroendocrine hormones, even paracrines, autocrines, and cytokines.
So many, each with its own unique role to play. It's a lot to unpack.
It is. But for this deep dive, let's zero in on endocrine hormones.
Okay, endocrine hormones.
These are the long-distance travelers of the body. They're like tiny little messages sent out through the bloodstream to reach target cells all over.
So instead of just acting locally, they're sending instructions far and wide.
Precisely. And the range of functions they control is just remarkable.
Okay, give me some examples. What kinds of things are we talking about?
Well, everything from growth and development to metabolism, reproduction too, and even our behavior.
Wow. So without these endocrine hormones, we'd be in big trouble.
Absolutely. I mean, just imagine life without growth hormone. We all be incredibly short.
I can't even imagine. And what about metabolism? Those hormones are key for keeping our energy levels up, right?
Exactly. Think about a thyroid deficiency. That can really slow down your metabolism.
Talk about feeling sluggish.
Yeah.
But here's a question that pops into my mind. Are all endocrine hormones created equal?
That's a great question, and the answer is no. They actually come in different flavors, you could say, each with its own unique chemical structure and properties.
Ooh, a hormone variety pack.
Ah,
I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these different flavors.
well, we have proteins and polypeptides, like insulin, which regulates blood sugar.
Insulin, got it. What else?
Then there are steroids, like estrogen and testosterone.
Oh, right, the key players in the reproductive system.
Exactly. And finally, we have amines, like adrenaline, our fight or flight hormone.
Adrenaline, the rush we feel when we're facing a challenge.
Exactly. And these structural differences actually play a role in how these hormones are made and stored.
Okay, so it's not just about their functions, but also how they're produced. Makes sense.
For instance, did you know that steroid hormones are actually synthesized from cholesterol?
Cholesterol, really?
Um,
That's surprising. I usually associate cholesterol with something to be avoided, not something essential for hormone production.
It's true. But cholesterol gets a bad rap sometimes. It's actually a crucial building block for many vital molecules in the body, including these steroid hormones. And this lipid base is what allows them to easily slip through cell membranes.
Ah, so they're like tiny escape artists, huh?
You could say that. Unlike protein hormones, which need those specific receptors to enter their target cells, it's a whole other process for them.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's zoom in on the production line here for a moment.
All right, let's do it.
How are these different types of hormones actually made? What's the step-by-step process?
Well, let's start with the protein hormones. They're like elaborate Lego creations. You start with these larger prepro hormones, which are kind of like a jumbled box of Legos. And then,
And then they get chopped up into smaller pieces.
exactly, they get chopped up into smaller active hormones, carefully sorted and assembled into a specific creation.
I love that analogy. It really paints a picture of how intricate this process is.
It is intricate.
Yeah.
And this whole process takes place within the cell with these amazing little workshops called the endoplasmic reticulum and the Golgi apparatus playing crucial roles.
Like specialized assembly lines.
Precisely. The endoplasmic reticulum helps fold the protein hormones into their correct 3D shapes, and then the Golgi apparatus takes over, further modifying and packaging them for delivery.
Wow, it's like a carefully orchestrated cellular ballet.
Absolutely. But what about those escape artist steroid hormones we talked about? Their production must be different, right?
You're right, I bet it is. They don't need to be assembled in the same way, do they?
Not at all. Steroid hormones are made on demand from cholesterol, and because they are lipid soluble, they can just diffuse right through cell membranes.
No fancy assembly line needed for them. They just slip right out, ready to go.
Yep.
But this brings up another question. With all these hormones circulating throughout the bloodstream, how do they know where to go?
Right. How do they ensure they're delivering their instructions to the right cells?
I mean, it's not like they have little GPS systems or anything.
Well, not exactly GPS, but they do have a remarkable targeting system. It's all about receptors.
Receptors. Okay, tell me more about those.
So you see, target cells have these specific locks on their surfaces, and each hormone has a unique key structure.
So only the right key can fit into the right lock. That's how they make sure the message gets to the right recipient.
Exactly. It's a brilliant system ensuring that each hormone only affects its intended target.
Like a sophisticated address system for the body. I'm amazed by how precise it all is.
It really is remarkable. And what's even more fascinating is that some hormones have very widespread effects.
You mean they act on many different types of cells?
Exactly.
Huh.
Growth hormone, for example, influences growth in almost every part of the body.
Wow, it's like a general message going out to everyone.
Whereas others are more specialized, they act on only a select few cell types.
Like a targeted delivery service for specific needs.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, with such a complex and precise system, where can things potentially go wrong?
That is a great question, and one that we should definitely dive into next. So we've talked about how these hormones are made and how they find their targets. But knowing that different hormones have different structures, it's fascinating to see how those differences play out in their production.
Absolutely. And, thinking about that production process, it's not just a constant stream of hormones flooding the body, is it?
Right. There has to be some sort of regulation, right?
Exactly. Otherwise, things could get really out of whack pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's like a car. You don't want to have the gas pedal constantly pressed to the floor. You need a way to control the speed to make sure you're not running the engine into the ground.
That's a great analogy. And that's where feedback systems come in. The body has these incredibly intricate mechanisms for monitoring hormone levels and making sure everything stays within a healthy range.
Okay, so walk me through this. How does this hormonal thermostat actually work?
Well, it's a bit like a dance, a very complex and carefully choreographed dance involving multiple partners.
Ooh, I like where this is going. Tell me more about this dance.
You've got glands, hormones, and target cells all communicating with each other, sending signals back and forth to maintain balance.
So who's leading this dance? Who's calling the shots?
Well, the hypothalamus, a tiny region in the brain, acts like the master conductor, orchestrating the whole symphony. It sends signals to the pituitary gland, which then releases hormones that act on other glands throughout the body.
So it's like a chain of command, making sure that everything is running smoothly.
Exactly. And those signals tell the glands to either ramp up or slow down hormone production.
Wow, so it's this amazing chain of command, ensuring that every hormone is produced in just the right amount at just the right time.
Precisely. And this intricate system is incredibly sensitive, responding to even the slightest fluctuations in hormone levels. It's designed to keep everything in a very tight range to ensure optimal function.
But what about external factors? Can things from outside the body, like stress, for example, throw a wrench into this hormonal dance?
Absolutely. Stress can trigger the release of cortisol, often called the stress hormone, and elevated cortisol levels can disrupt the delicate balance of other hormones.
So it's not just about maintaining internal balance, but also managing external influences that can impact our hormones.
Exactly. And the effects of stress can be far-reaching.
Really? In what way?
It can impact everything from sleep and appetite to energy levels and even the immune system.
So stress really is a hormonal havoc wreaker.
You could say that. And sometimes managing stress and making lifestyle changes alone aren't enough to restore balance.
That's a good point. So what happens then? Are there other options available?
There are. That's where hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, can be a valuable tool for addressing certain hormonal imbalances.
HRT. Okay, so tell me more about that. What exactly is it?
Essentially, it involves supplementing the body with synthetic hormones to restore balance and alleviate symptoms.
So, for instance, women experiencing menopause often benefit from estrogen therapy to manage those intense hot flashes and other challenging symptoms that can occur during that transition.
Exactly. And individuals with thyroid disorders might require thyroid hormone replacement to restore normal metabolic function. These are just two examples of how HRT can be incredibly beneficial for people experiencing specific hormonal imbalances.
It sounds like HRT can be a real game changer for a lot of people, but I'm guessing, like any medical intervention, there are considerations and potential risks to be aware of, right?
Absolutely. HRT is not a one-size-fits-all solution and should always be approached with caution. It's crucial to consult with a healthcare professional to determine if HRT is appropriate and to carefully monitor its effects. Hormones are incredibly powerful, and any intervention needs to be tailored to the individual and their specific needs.
It's a reminder that understanding how hormones work empowers us to advocate for our own health and make informed decisions. But before we get into that, I'm curious, are there any other surprising ways that external factors can impact our hormone balance? We've talked about stress, but what about things like diet or environmental exposures?
That's a fascinating question, and one that researchers are still actively exploring. There's certainly evidence to suggest that what we eat, how much we sleep, and even the toxins we're exposed to in our environment can play a role in hormonal health. It's all connected, which makes this whole topic even more intriguing.
It really makes you appreciate the complexity of the human body and how everything is so intricately linked. But given how sensitive this hormonal system is, what can we do to support it and keep everything running smoothly? What steps can we take to ensure that our hormones are working in harmony?
That's the million-dollar question, and something we should definitely dive into next.
Okay, so we've gone through this whole journey of hormones, and it's clear that keeping them in balance is key. But where do we even begin? What can we actually do on a daily basis to support our hormonal health?
Well, there's a lot we can do. It really comes down to a holistic approach, thinking about all the different factors that can influence our hormones.
Okay, so what are some of those key factors? I'm ready for the rundown.
Let's start with diet. What we eat plays a huge role in our hormonal health.
Right, makes sense. Food is fuel, after all.
Exactly. And the wrong kind of fuel can really throw things off. A diet loaded with processed foods, sugar, and unhealthy fats.
Not doing our hormones any favors, I bet.
Not at all. That kind of diet can contribute to things like insulin resistance.
Insulin resistance, that's a major driver of metabolic disorders, right?
You got it. But on the flip side, a diet rich in whole foods, fiber, and healthy fats.
That's got to be the way to go.
Absolutely. It can help keep your blood sugar levels balanced and support those hormones.
So it's not just about cutting out the bad stuff, but actively adding in the good stuff too.
You got it. Giving your body the nutrients it needs to produce and regulate hormones effectively. And speaking of things that are essential, we can't forget about sleep.
Sleep, always so important.
Getting enough sleep is crucial. Absolutely essential for hormonal balance. Think about it. During sleep, our bodies are busy producing and regulating so many important hormones.
Like growth hormone.
Yeah.
And cortisol.
Exactly. And when we don't get enough sleep,
That whole delicate balance gets thrown off.
precisely, it can mess with your energy levels, your mood, even your appetite and immune system.
I've definitely felt that myself. When I'm sleep deprived, it's like my whole system is out of whack.
It makes a big difference. And it's not just about the quantity of sleep either. The quality matters too.
Right, making sure we're getting enough of that deep, restorative sleep.
Exactly. That's what allows our bodies to do their hormonal housekeeping overnight.
So establishing a regular sleep routine,
Mm.
making sure our bedroom is a relaxing environment, all of that contributes to a good night's sleep and helps our hormones stay balanced.
Exactly. And while we're talking about balance, we have to address the elephant in the room, stress.
Yes, stress, the ultimate hormone disruptor.
It really can wreak havoc. Like we talked about earlier, chronic stress can lead to those elevated cortisol levels, and that can have cascading effects throughout the body.
So finding healthy ways to manage stress is absolutely key. But easier said than done sometimes, right?
It can be tough, for sure, but there's so many tools and techniques that can help.
Like what? Give us some ideas.
Well, mindfulness practices like meditation and yoga can be incredibly powerful.
I can see how those would help calm the mind and reduce those stress levels.
Right. And then there's spending time in nature, engaging in hobbies you enjoy, connecting with loved ones.
Simple things, but so important.
Exactly. There are countless ways to reduce stress and support hormonal balance. It's about finding what works best for you and making it a regular part of your routine.
So we've got diet, sleep, and stress management. Any other key players we should be thinking about?
Oh, absolutely. We can't forget about exercise.
Exercise.
Regular physical activity has a huge impact on our hormones.
Okay, how so?
Well, for one, it helps regulate insulin sensitivity, which we know is key for metabolic health. It also boosts those feel-good endorphins and even supports healthy levels of those sex hormones.
So finding ways to move our bodies regularly is crucial, not just for our physical health, but for our hormonal health as well. It seems like all these things we already know are good for us also have this amazing impact on our endocrine system.
Exactly. It really highlights how interconnected everything is within the body.
And the great thing is, these lifestyle changes can have a ripple effect, positively impacting so many different systems at once.
I couldn't agree more.
So by focusing on nourishing our bodies with those whole foods, prioritizing sleep, managing stress, and moving our bodies regularly.
We're not just supporting our hormonal health, but our overall well-being. It's about taking a holistic approach to health.
That's such an empowering message. It's not about making drastic changes or following restrictive diets, but simply making conscious choices that support our body's natural balance.
Precisely. It's about listening to your body, understanding its cues, and responding with care and compassion. And when things do get out of balance,
Sometimes they do, right?
right, that's when it's important to seek support from qualified healthcare professionals who can help us navigate those challenges.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. It's amazing how much we can learn from exploring these intricate systems within our bodies.
And it's amazing how much power we have to influence our own health and well-being.
Absolutely. By making informed choices, we can really take control of our health journey. Well, a huge thank you to our expert for guiding us through this fascinating world of endocrine hormones.
It's been my pleasure. I always love diving into these topics.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it as fascinating as we did. Keep those brains buzzing, keep those bodies thriving, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.